WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Mucking and gutting, a common theme for many after floodwaters swept through our area 4 weeks ago today, leaving families with mountains of mud and debris inside their homes. But as WYMT's Dakota Makris explains, one local organization is doing what it can to get people out of uncertainty and back into their homes.
It is a two-part process for the Housing Development Alliance in Hazard. The first is finding the resources it needs so people can start rebuilding, but that is not all.
At the same time, we're going to have to keep mucking out. I mean, there are hundreds of folks who need this. It's taken us 3, 4, 5 days per house, so it could take us several months.
The organization helping at dozens of homes.
The latest figure I saw was up to 2,300 houses that had been impacted by the flood. That's not including ones that were destroyed, and that's a lot of houses.
Mindy Miller with HDA says they use the online database Crisis Cleanup. It helps them find homeowners who need help, something homeowners should use for long-term recovery.
It's incredibly important because it lets us know who they are, where they are, and exactly what they need.
Miller says their goal is to get to as many houses as they can, but she says volunteers help them get to homes faster.
Through the week, Monday through Friday, we don't get a lot of volunteers. Most of them come on the weekends, and that's understandable.
Saying it is difficult to hear stories from flood victims, especially as they watch what they worked so hard for get torn out, making way for the new.
You know, mountain people are strong people, but after something like this, I think it's kind of taken all of us by surprise. And so a lot of folks, it's like they have this very defeated look, and that's not something I'm used to seeing from people in East Kentucky.
Hoping they can bring smiles and hope back to our region. In Perry County, Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
The executive director tells us one of the biggest challenges they face is making sure mold is gone before they move on to the next phase. Food banks and Kentuckians across the region are teaming up to power up the pantry today. 3 donation sites are set up in Hazard, Coal Run, and Ashland for folks to bring supplies that will be given to others in need. Mike Halligan with God's Pantry Food Bank says the supplies will stay local.
So it's important for everybody to remember that the donations that come through this food drive stay local and help those who are experiencing hunger locally.
Halligan says he's thankful folks came out to support this event even while they are still recovering from the flood. And you still have until 6:30 to visit one of the donation locations. We'll have more from here in Hazard. Evan Hatter is over there across the street. We'll hear from him and also hear from Buddy Forbes coming up tonight at 6, who's in the Coal Run location. Well, yesterday, Governor Andy Beshear announced plans to spend more than $212 million during the next 6 months to help communities devastated by the recent flooding recover. The announcement was made after a special legislative session was called to speed up relief efforts. The funding is similar to the aid provided to Western Kentucky communities impacted by tornadoes last December. The funding includes $115 million for the Department of Military Affairs Division of Emergency Management to provide support for cities, counties, school districts, state agencies, and nonprofit or public utility services. $45 million is for the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's highways budget, and $40 million will go to the Department of Education to help school districts. Now, Senator Brandon Smith of Hazard just introduced in the last hour an amendment to provide $50 million more for housing. Apparently, there was no money in the original legislation for housing, and we've heard from several folks upset about that today, where you do not know where that amendment is headed, if it will be heard or approved. We're continuing to follow that in Frankfort and hope to have more later tonight. Officials throughout the region are calling for a bit of extra help despite the state's flood relief package. WYMT's Jordan Mullins has more with one county judge executive in the Big Sandy who is requesting help and calling for change regarding the dredging of the region's creeks and streams.
Several county officials in eastern Kentucky have come to a consensus during the state's special session, bringing another talking point to the table and requesting additional preventative measures be taken to mitigate flooding.
What we're asking for is some additional funding for a mitigation program to do the dredging in the creeks and the streams.
Judge Executive Robbie Williams is one of several officials asking for additional help after his county was affected by flooding due to the overflowing rivers and streams, adding that even the permit process to dredge is too lengthy.
We have to get 2 permits from the state of Kentucky. We have to get 1 permit from the Corps of Engineers. If it's a blue line stream, can turn into a 404 permit, and the permitting process is only for 200 feet on each side of the stream.
And calling for some regulations regarding environmental and wildlife protection to be lifted to save the homes, businesses, and lives of Eastern Kentuckians.
You know, we've got to put human lives above that of minnows and tadpoles and crawdads. I'm not saying that the regulatory environment created an unsafe environment, but it certainly didn't help.
But these officials are aware that this will not be the project that fixes everything.
Is this a silver bullet? No, this isn't silver bullet. This is just one aspect of a much bigger problem. But this will lessen the effects of the flooding that we do have here in Eastern Kentucky.
And with a long road ahead, are thankful for the help that has already been approved. In Floyd County, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Williams says he does believe dredging could prevent loss of life and property even in the hardest hit areas.
And we are out here at the ARH Medical Mall as Power Up the Pantry continues. We just loaded up another pallet of food there into the truck there with God's Pantry Food Banks. So you have a little less than an hour to come on out here and give to the food banks here this afternoon, or I should say this evening. We're well past 5 o'clock now, and you see the sun out here in Hazard. That is a common theme around the region here tonight. Upper 70s as we head out to UVA-wise. All is quiet, at least weather-wise, out in that direction. We're still watching just a few of those fair weather clouds out there. Mountain Parkway at Slade, they're a lot warmer there. 86 degrees, plenty of sunshine at the moment. Temperatures middle and upper 80s in many spots. Cooler spots right now, Wise at 79. Elsewhere, Clintwood's at 83, 84, many of our other cooler spots. But look at Manchester and Jonesville coming in along with Somerset at 88 degrees. Pinpoint Doppler at the moment, all a clean sweep around the mountains, but we're watching a few of those showers in parts of Tennessee begin to try to work on into the region. That could provide us with some showers later on tonight. You see those developing to our south, so we'll be watching that as we head through the evening hours. It's still a small chance. Next 6 hours, 86 here as we head into the next hour, 80 by 8 o'clock, so we're getting a little more comfortable, but we still watch the possibility for a stray shower as we head past dark with temperatures falling through the 70s. I'll have the very latest on when we could see an increase in some of those showers and storms. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. We have heard inspirational stories about people surviving the flood. Now we get a chance to hear about a dog named Phoenix who found a way to escape the fast-flowing water. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us how a dog owner found his pet in an odd spot, protecting himself from the flood.
Come on.
This is Phoenix.
Now don't run. Don't run off. Come here.
He and Pedro wander the streets of Feisty on a daily basis. As flood waters began to rise, Phoenix was nowhere to be seen. But as the waters began to recede, his owner, Kelly Smith, went out to find him.
The water was still about I'd say about 3 or 4 feet up that high, and I kind of jumped over it, and I took off walking down that way, and that's when I found him.
When he did, Phoenix was in a bit of an odd spot.
Pedro took off after some dogs across the road, and I heard something bark. And I looked down there, and he was on top of this car.
Phoenix was sitting on the tail end of the car, which was almost at the ceiling. Kelly said Phoenix was there for around 6 hours as water got closer.
The water was tipping this light here up on that post there.
When Phoenix saw his owner, he was as happy as can be.
And he just was happy to see me swinging his tail and then barking at me and all that stuff.
Kelly could not get to Phoenix because of how high he was, so he simply yelled, "Jump!"
I said, the only thing I can tell you is you probably have to jump off of there. And it wasn't probably a couple of seconds there I told him that, he just sailed off of it.
Now Phoenix is reunited with Pedro, and they are back to running around in the streets again. In Feisty, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, Kelly Smith said it was the scariest night of his life, but knowing the dogs are still alive gives him some peace. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the student loan deadline has been pushed once again. An expert weighs in with financial advice for your next steps.
Warmer and more humid will be the name of the game as we head through the end of the work week. The full breakdown is on the way next.
WYMT News app offers alerts on breaking stories as they happen, customized to the categories you choose. The WYMT